Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be part of the HypnoseKongress 2020. This year online, very different than usually. And I have attended many of the Zurich congresses. I have spoken at many of the conferences. And well, this is really different. This is a kind of a different session because you are not interacting, because I'm not seeing you, because I cannot ask you questions and I cannot respond to your questions. So I have decided, since I think there will be this year, there will be also people who are non-hypnotherapists. So I will make this talk very simple. It will be something that everybody can follow, that everybody can use, whether you are a therapist or not. Before I start with the topic of today, which is parts, waking parts, so it's not really parts therapy, it is parts that we use while we are in a normal, natural conversation. That's the word waking. Before I start with the topic, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Abdulrahim Santl, and I am partly German and partly Lebanese. I have been working in the field of hypnosis since 2000, and before that, psychology. And I am an instructor for hypnotherapy and NLP since 2009. I am the founder and owner of Mind Your Power. That's my company. And it's kind of saying it all, that mind your power, because we have so much power within us. We have so much strength within us. And everything that I do is really helping people rediscover what they have inside of them, whether it's for personal development or also for corporate development. Everyone, and that's what I believe, everyone has everything, all the parts inside of them, all the strength and skills, etc. We're born with everything. And sometimes what happens is that we forget that we have all of these parts, or maybe we are actually hypnotized into believing that we don't have them. This is what hypnosis is. So for all of you who are non-hypnotists here on the call, hypnosis is nothing else but hypnosis is the state of being in the subconscious mind. And what happens is that when we are in that state, and in that hypnotic state, in that subconscious state, that we sometimes are learning lessons, either from our parents when we're very small, or from the environment, or from incidents, experiences that happen to us in life. We learn certain lessons, and we start believing them, and these become our beliefs, whether positive or also negative. So a lot of times we do believe that we have a certain identity also. We do believe that we have certain habits that we cannot change. We believe sometimes that we are a certain way. Let's say we are an angry person, we are a shy person, etc. Whereas what I want to just, bring closer to you today, that anger or shyness or whatever it is just a part of us. It is not us. It is not our identity. The talk today is, like I said, about parts, and parts therapy is nothing new. Parts therapy is something that has been used since a long time in all kinds of therapy, and it has different names in different modalities. So whether we're talking about parts therapy that we use in when we do hypnotherapy, that stems back to Charles Tebet, who was known as the father of parts therapy. Roy Hunter has done a lot of work on that and developed that. He took it over from Charles Tebbets also. Or whether we call it mediation therapy, parts mediation, as some other methodologies call it, or even if we go into the field of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where we also work a lot with parts, whether it is the visual squash, for example, where we just visually see one part and the other part, and we just bring them together, or whether it is the reframing that we call in NLP reframing a situation, seeing it from a different angle, in a different light, and this also involves parts. Well, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. What I noticed over the years with my clients, and also especially when I do the trainings, is that sometimes it is just so easy to use parts before we even start the session, as in the pre-talk. Now, for me, the pre-talk is the most important part of the entire session anyway. I tend to do everything or speak about everything that I will do in the session, I will speak about in the pre-talk, because we know what the mind expects to happen tends to be realized. So when we tell the client what will happen in the session, they will already be prepared, they will already have done it, more or less awake. I don't want to say consciously, even if they're not closing their eyes, because as soon as we imagine and as soon as we feel, we're not in the conscious mind anymore. We're already working with the subconscious mind. So it is already a subconscious work. So when we do it in the pre-talk and then we do it again in the session after the pre-talk, we are actually reinforcing what we've done before. And that's why I think the entire work that we do before we officially start the session is so, so, so important. Yeah. So what is it about parts? Now, I believe that every single client who comes to you has an inner struggle, an inner conflict, right? So with every single client, we can or could use parts therapy. Why am I saying everyone has a struggle? Well, either they come because they want to stop something and they cannot stop it. Let's say a habit, a behavior that they have, smoking, snacking, gambling, anything, right? So either it is they want to stop that habit and they cannot stop it. So what does that mean? That means a part of them really wants to stop, but there is a part of them that is hindering them from stopping. Or there are people who want to start a new habit, right? Learn a new behavior, yeah, become more confident or become better at speaking or whatever it is, but they cannot. So here again, there is that one part that wants and that other part that is stopping them. Yeah. So whatever it is, in whatever circumstances, here are some examples, smoking. Okay, I want to stop smoking, but I cannot. And people will even say this, part of me really wants to stop smoking, but another part of me just loves it. Yeah, have you heard that before? Yeah. Or the people who just say, part of me really wants to stop snacking at night, but another part just loves going to that cabinet and getting out these sweets and nuts and crackers at night, right? So there are these two parts. Also with other behaviors, like part of me really wants to sit down and do this work, but another part of me just wants to watch TV or play a game or just procrastinate, right? So we have an inner conflict, we have an inner struggle when we do that. When it comes to working with parts in the session itself, I have noticed in my trainings that the students either some of them love it, and some of them say, I don't really like to work with it, right? But then again, when you work with it now in the pre-talk, it is so easy, yeah? So before I start with a practical example, let me tell you an analogy. If you have a company, the company has many departments. So let's take the sales department, the marketing department, and the production, right? So every single department is working for that company. Let's say you're the owner of the company. So every single one of these people are working for you, right? They're not working for anyone else. They are part of the company. They are working for you. But now what happens when they're not working together? When they are working against each other, or not necessarily against each other, but not together, you'll have a problem, right? So sales and marketing are working, but production is not. You know, you can sell so much, but you'll have a real problem if nothing is being produced, right? The other way around too. If production is producing, but nobody is selling, that's not good either, right? So what we need to do is have everybody work together, so there is a flow, there is an understanding, there is a communication between the parts, and a harmony between them, yeah? Because everybody has his role. Every department has his role. And similarly, the parts in your body, or body in your mind, the parts inside of you, they all have their role. And when they don't work together, you will have that struggle. You will have that inner conflict, because now they're fighting against each other. One wants and one doesn't want. So they're pulling each one from a different side. And that's where we have that struggle. That's where we have that conflict. And we say, I don't know what to do. I just feel so confused, right? Or I feel I'm not in control, yeah? Because I don't know which side to follow. So what can we do with that? Now, let me ask you, if you say, for example, and let's just stick with the example of smoking, because it's easy now. If you say, part of me wants to stop smoking and part of me really loves it, and I'm struggling with that, I really don't know what to do. If you just think of that situation, and you know what, just for the sake of now, just think about something that you struggle with, something that for you is a sort of a two-part issue, yeah? One part wants this, the other part wants that, yeah? I'll take the example of smoking right now, and you can use anything you want. So if we are talking about, that holistic view of it, we will feel it as a struggle, yeah? We will feel it as a problem. We will feel it as something that we have no solution for, because we really don't know what to do. So the key here of parts therapy in general is to just talk to the individual parts and to feel the individual feelings, yeah? Now, this is done really, really easily in the pre-talk, like I said, okay? So let's say the client says, I really want to stop smoking, but I love it, okay? I've tried so many times, but I cannot. So every time they say something positive, they will say something negative again, right? So what we want to do is get them to be in touch with only one of the parts. So what we really want to do is dissociate, is really separate these two parts, yeah? And really see them as two entities inside of you. Now we can work with more, but let's keep it to two, because in that waking pre-talk part, it is really easier this way. Let's keep it to two. So we really want them to be two entities that can look at each other, that can talk to each other. And don't worry, you're not schizophrenic if you do that, right? So it's just really being in touch with the feelings of each one of these parts. So let's do that together and just, think about something that you struggle with. And here's that client in front of me saying, I really want to stop smoking, but I can't. Yeah. So while we're talking, I say, okay, you feel that struggle now, but I don't want you, don't think about that struggle now. Just feel one of the parts. Okay. So just get in touch with that part that really, really, really wants to smoke. That part that wants to, when you see that cigarette, you just want to go there and take it. Yeah. That part that really loves it. Yeah. And now, when you get in touch with only that part, whatever it is for you, yeah, just feel it. Just feel yourself and imagine you're taking it, and totally disregard the other part. Totally forget about I want to stop smoking. Just be in touch with that feeling. I really want that. Now, this already is very, very powerful, because now we're understanding that feeling and we don't have a struggle anymore, right? And now, understanding that part, getting in touch with that part, feel it, okay? Feel the emotions that you have wanting to have that. The emotions that you have, the feeling that you have when you say, I really want to go and get that cigarette. Yeah. And now feel it. And while you're feeling it and you're imagining that feeling, you are totally positively acknowledging that feeling. So there is no negative feeling in there, because this is the part that really wants that. Yeah. So no negativity, it's just positivity that we want here. And now we ask, what is that part doing for you? How is it serving you? What is it doing to, what does it want for you? Yeah. And here is really, and that's the key, where sometimes we say we don't want that part. Some people will say, but no, it's not doing anything for me. Because usually, what do we usually ask ourselves? Usually I say, it's not good for me. I don't want it. But let me tell you something. Our subconscious mind and habits and behaviors are subconscious. Yeah. So our subconscious mind will never, ever, ever, never, never, never do something that is not useful to you. Your subconscious mind has learned a certain behavior that becomes a habit, because at one point in your life, in some context of your life, it was useful. It served a purpose. It gave you a good feeling. And that's how we learn. We never, ever, ever do anything that doesn't serve us or served us in a certain context at a certain time in our life. So when or if the subconscious mind learned a behavior or that became a habit, that means that it does give you some positive feelings, because that's how it learned, right? So again, let's stick with that example of the cigarette. That would maybe be, when you won and at 15 or 13 or whatever it is, got that feeling of, oh my God, now I belong to the group of the cool kids. or the feeling of being strong and being adult and being grown up, big, whatever it is, whatever that feeling is that that cigarette gave you then, it is still giving you, because your subconscious mind will remember that feeling and keeps giving it to you. And that's what a habit is. Yeah, I hope that made sense now for everybody. So again, we want to ask now the subconscious mind, we want to ask that person that gets in touch with that feeling, what is that feeling giving you? Yeah. And here's another thing about the subconscious mind. I said it before, but I want to reinforce it here. The deeper you, the more you are feeling, the stronger the emotions, the stronger the feelings, the deeper you are in the subconscious. Yeah. That means when I really, really get in touch with an emotion, with a feeling, and really feel it, that means I am in the subconscious mind, right? So now I can get in touch with that subconscious mind and say, what is it really giving me? Yeah. And maybe there will be the answer will be, oh, I really feel, and then, you know, you go back to whatever that person says. And let me take an example of a client who I just worked with recently, a 60-something-year-old woman who then said, it gives me the feeling of just doing something for myself, being rebellious, doing something that is not the norm. So she had always been the good girl, you know, good in school, good at home and everything. And that cigarette was apparently her outlet, her being rebellious. Yeah. So this is, you know, when she really got in touch with that feeling and imagined that cigarette in front of her, and she didn't even close her eyes for that. Yeah. I'm talking about really waking hypnosis here, right? So just got in touch with it and said, yeah, I'm doing something that my mom didn't want me to do, but I did it. You know, it was just that rebellion in her. Yeah. And that's a good feeling. Yeah, that was for her something good, right? So here we have now the purpose of that one part. Yeah. And then we can turn to the other parts and say, okay, now, what is that part of you that wants to stop? Yeah. And now just get in touch with that. Just feel that. The nice thing is that when we are totally focused on one part, there's no confusion in us. There's no, oh, but I want, but I don't want. There's no struggle. There's no confusion, right? So now just get in touch with that one part that wants to stop. And feel that feeling that you have that really, really wants to stop. And again, what does it want for you? That feeling that you have now. Yeah. And when you feel it, when they feel it, right? For that lady, she said, well, it was her health. Yeah. And she had health issues, right? So it was her health that was saying, you know what? My body really wants to do more. My body wants to walk, wants to do more things, wants to be more active, just wants to be more healthy, right? So that was also that reason, that feeling that she had behind it. Yeah. So what do we do now when we know what they want for us? Suddenly both parts become parts that we actually want because they're serving us. So now we're not internally fighting against that part. And we need to make that very, very clear, and I'm repeating it. Every single part of you is a part of you. We are born with the ability to feel, to do anything we want. So we do have a lot of parts in us that we're maybe not aware of. we do have a lot of emotions. Yeah, if I want to put emotions and parts as equal now. And every single part is a valid part. And we don't want to get rid of anyone, because every part has a time where it is valid and where it is useful, right? So if I say anger, well, sometimes anger might be good, because otherwise I'll just swallow and swallow. So sometimes maybe I have to just say, ah, and shout out whatever I feel. Sadness also has its time and place, right? I can be sad when something sad happens. So every emotion and every part has its place in my life, right? So I don't want to get rid of them. I want to embrace them. I want to thank these parts for actually being there, because if I didn't have so many different parts, so many different emotions, I would just be always feeling the same thing, right? So we want to invite them to continue working, just not always and all the time, yeah? Or not when it's not appropriate anymore. So again, we saw these two parts, and now we have, first of all, I can get in touch with that part. Secondly, I am now seeing that, yeah, it has a good side, right? It wants something good for me. And at the same time, and this is again for hypnotherapists, what we do a lot of times, even in the pre-talk here, is a regression without actually going into induction and regression, because they will do a regression on that part itself, right? So let me go back and explain that. So here we go. We were at that part. We go back to the first part that said, I really want that cigarette, right? And she said she just feels that, you know, she wants to be that girl that does something for her without, you know, being that good girl. Yeah. And immediately as she said that, she went back and said, yeah, because I remember being in school and I was always the good girl and I was always doing everything my mom wanted. And then that cigarette, that one day, that one cigarette, it just gave me that feeling, ha, I can do something. I can be like the other girls who are just rebellious. I could do something for myself and not care what others say or do, right? So that is in a sort in a way, it is a regression that she did, right? So regression can be on both sides again. And even though we don't do the full regression like we do in the session, it is already very, very useful to already see where did that come from, yeah? So, you know, you could have the whole session done in the pre-talk already and then just reinforce it, like I said, in the session itself. So here we go. We have the reason, we have the regression, and now I ask the part, okay, so if your main reason is to be rebellious, if your main reason is to, you know, do something that is, that allows you to just do what you want to do without, you know, caring about the others, what else could you do? Yeah, and here is where it is very similar also to the reframing technique in NLP, for example, right? Where we just say, okay, what else could you do? Well, I could, and I'll quote what my client said, I just want to not take care of my family and my grandchildren and cook for them at night, but just fill up a bath, a bubble bath, have some candles, have some, I don't know, candles and a glass of champagne, and just lie in the bathtub and just enjoy my evening without, maybe with a book, and without, you know, having to care about anyone else. So that was her idea, her replacement, right, of being rebellious now at 65 or whatever her age was now. Yeah. So her mind thought of something to do to get that same feeling. Yeah. Now for her, it was the same feeling. And, you know, we don't need to necessarily understand it, because we can't, right? Because everybody has his own perception of things. But for her, it was that a feeling of wanting that cigarette, being rebellious, was exactly the feeling she got in her mind when she said, I just want to take that bath, not care about anyone, not cook dinner for them, but just lay in my bathtub with my book, with my candles. And that was it for her, right? So we get her mind to come up with a solution. Yeah. And then we turn to the other parts. Sorry, I lost my mic. And then we turn to the other parts and we say, okay, now that part that really wants to stop, right? That health part, yeah? When you stop, right? When you feel that feeling, I really, really want to stop. What is that feeling doing for you? Yeah. What does that part want for you? And that part wanted to go out and walk and be healthy, right? Okay, so now we can have this part talk to the other parts. And again, you know, you're not schizophrenic or anything like that if you have really two parts of you talk to each other. But really see, okay, would that solution of the bubble bath be okay for the going out and walking, etc.? Yeah, that would be okay, right? And then these two parts can agree, right? And sometimes I actually use some of the NLP where I just say, okay, make it now more visual. Okay, so let them just, you know, shake hands or whatever you want to do. So put that one part in one hand and the other part in the other hand, and then just let them shake hands together, or just let them come closer together. And just as they come closer, just feel and feel and feel and feel how they just become one part, how they just merge, and how they just are working now together, hand in hand, together, hand in hand, right? So what we do, and this is nothing new. By the way, nothing of what I'm saying is new here. These are all techniques that we use in hypnotherapy or in NLP, etc. The only thing I wanted to really make clear is that you can do all of that without actually doing a session. You could do it just by talking, right? So bringing these two actually together and just feeling that is good for visual people, because they can visualize how they're working together. It's also good for kinesthetic people because they will actually feel it. They will feel it merge and become one, right? So you have an additional factor here when you actually bring them then together and have that merge, right? So that's the extra addition. Yeah. So when it comes to regression, we can do that in the pre-talk, and then, like I said, and after that we can go into the session and just repeat the whole thing with the induction if needed, but they will have already done it, so then it will be just a reinforcement in the session. right? And this can be used with everything. And I tend to really use it a lot now. Also, when I teach in the trainings, where I say, okay, we'll do the parts therapy as we learn it usually, but I also want them to just, practice in the pre-talk, just talking to someone and say, okay, well, yeah, well, a part of you really wants to work, a part of you wants to stop working, right? What is the benefit? Yeah, feel that feeling of just procrastinating, feel it, and it has an advantage, it has something, right? When it comes to anger, same thing. I really am so angry, I'm always angry. Well, that anger, feel it, yeah? And when you discover the positive parts of that anger, you can start working with it because you're not fighting it. Because everything we push away will resist and push back, right? So we're not fighting that anger anymore. We're not fighting the shyness. We're not fighting the procrastination. Yeah. So then we can work with them. And a lot of times when we understand that part, when we understand why it's there, it can help us. Yeah, it is the same thing like when we work with pain, right? And we say, when we want to push that pain away, when we just, take, I don't know, medicine or something to just calm and sedate that pain, yeah, it's still there. And when it's there, it wants to tell us something. Yeah, it has a reason. It's a part, it's also a part of us, right? Everything is a part of us. So it's also a part that that is speaking to us. Yeah. And that's the same thing with any emotion. It is telling us something. It is telling us, you're feeling that, this is the explosion in you, this is the bubbling in you, this is whatever it is, there is a reason for it, yeah? Understand the reason, give it, feed it, but feed it the right things. I hope this all makes sense to you. And as I said before, some people really love working with parts and others say, but I noticed that when it comes to really using it in a normal conversation, even, I mean, now we're talking about the pre-talk, we're talking about clients, etc. But, we can also use it in a normal conversation with a friend, yeah? How many times do we have friends who are like in a conflict and struggling with a decision and I don't know what to do? And that struggle is like a problem. It feels like I cannot get out of it. Yeah. If there is a struggle, that means there are parts. If there are parts, that means there are more than one positive aspects to it. So all we need to do is discover the positive aspects. Yeah. So let's just do a very quick summary, and I'll do it with you so you can actually go through it, whatever it is that you feel. Unfortunately, I cannot have a feedback from you, but just imagine again something that you really, really are struggling with, something that you want to stop, something that you want to start. Yeah. It can be a behavior, it can be an emotion, it can be a habit. And now just split that into two parts. That one part that wants it and that one part that doesn't want it. There are always two parts, at least. And now, like I said, you can keep your eyes open. If it's easier for you to feel it when you close your eyes, you could just do that for a moment. Yeah, you don't have to. Feel that part that really wants that thing. And just be in touch with that part. Disregard the other one. Totally disregard the other one. Totally push it away. Just feel that one part. Get in touch with these feelings. What does it want for you? What positive side is it showing you? And again, there has to be a positive side, because our subconscious mind will never do something that is not giving us something positive. So what is it that it's doing for you? Feel that feeling. You can get excited about it. It's that something that it's doing for you. It's helping you in some way. And once you recognize that, ask that part, what else could I do that could give you that same feeling? And then turn around to the other side. And again, leave that first feeling totally away. Don't take it with you. Leave it. And just get in touch with that other part. And again, once you feel that other part, just that part, you'll understand it. You'll feel it. You'll feel the emotions. You'll feel the feelings. You'll feel that power, that strength, and you'll understand it. And now again, ask that part. How are you helping me? What are you wanting for me? How can I get that? And then check if for that part, the solution of the other part is okay. Yeah. So imagine yourself now. Imagine yourself doing whatever you just decided to do in the future. And feel how it feels. And then bring both parts together. Merge them as one. Let them work together towards now the goal that they both have, that they both understand. And once they have come together, now again, see yourself in the future. Do that new behavior. What you're doing now is you're seeing it as a whole again. That holistic person that had both parts, that used to see that issue as a struggle. How do you see it now? Yeah. So we have the struggle first, we divide it into two, we see the positive on this side, the positive on that side. We find a new solution so that the positive intent, the positive feeling stays, but the behavior changes. Then we bring the parts together again. And as a whole, we see we now should not have a struggle anymore, but now a new goal, a new behavior to look forward to. Yeah. And again, do it in every pre-talk, do it with your friends, wherever you want. I encourage you to use it more often, because it is a very, very good way to really let people understand why they're doing something. So just the important things is to remember, don't push them away, the parts, acknowledge them, say they are part of me, and we are all born with so many skills and parts, and we have them all. We have the ability, we have a variety of emotions, and we have the ability to use each one of them in the correct way. Yeah, only sometimes we are hypnotized as a child to maybe believe that we or to use them in a wrong sense, right? For example, if we go to anger, I might have been very shy as a child, and then at one point in my life, I got really angry and I shouted at the boys in school, and then suddenly they started liking me, or they started playing with me because I was now maybe respected in their eyes, because I was not shy anymore. They stopped bullying me, etc. So of course that aggressive tone, that shouting, that anger is something that my subconscious mind learned as being good, right? So again, it always has a good reason, right? So seeing it as something that served me at one point, but now understanding that I can change the behavior but still keep that anger inside of me, sometimes it might be useful, right? Knowing that I can use it if needed. I would love to ask you if you have any questions, but I wouldn't get an answer. So I would be the only part talking here, so that I think doesn't make any sense now. So all I can do now is thank you for having attended this session. I hope to see you again. I have another session today, later today, on neuro-artistic transformation, and tomorrow on hypnoparenting in unusual times. Hope to see you again. Hope that you see me again. Let's put it this way. I really want to just at the end say how grateful I am, and you know, excited that this is happening now. And so a big thank you to the whole team of the HypnoseKongress in Zurich, and a big thank you, Hans Rudi, for making this happen. I am sure that there are so many great speakers. I know I've seen the lineup, amazing speakers. So make sure that you listen to really a lot of them. I know a lot of them personally, and they really have so much to say. So enjoy this 2 or 3 days. And again, hope to see you one day in person, maybe. Bye-bye.